Think about that one person you know, who seems perfectly, almost unnervingly calm when everything around them is falling apart. Picture them in a chaotic office where a massive deadline is looming and colleagues are fraying at the seams, or in a deafening social event where everyone is shouting to be heard, while others are spiraling into panic. This person is sitting quietly, perhaps even wearing a faint, knowing smile. If someone cuts them off in traffic or screams an insult, they don't scream back. They simply pause and wonder if that driver is suffering through a personal crisis. They find a strange, quiet humor in situations that would drive most people to tears. To the casual observer, they are a master of self-control, a strong or resilient soul who has achieved some level of Zen mastery. But if you look at them through the eyes of a psychology student, you see a much deeper, more complex story. You see a human being who has survived so much that the normal, everyday chaos of life no longer registers as a threat. You see someone whose calm is actually a high-performance survival mode. I want you to join me for a moment and look inward at your own life. Have you ever experienced a day where a major plan collapsed, something you worked on for months, and instead of falling into a heap, you just laughed at the sheer absurdity of the disaster? Have you ever felt like you were watching a movie of your own life, slightly detached from the drama, observing your own struggles as if they were happening to a character on a screen? We often label this toughness or grit. But there is a very specific biological and neurological logic behind this behavior. It isn't just a personality trait you were born with. It is a masterpiece of biological adaptation. When you have been through too much, your brain eventually recalibrates. It stops reacting to small problems because it is busy hoarding its energy for what it perceives as real survival. You are like a high-performance racing engine that only starts revving when the stakes reach a fever pitch. You have lived through so many Category 5 hurricanes that a little afternoon rain shower doesn't even warrant opening an umbrella. You aren't indifferent. You are seasoned. Why does your brain work this way? Let's look at the underlying mechanics of the survivor's mind. In psychological research, we see that the nervous system of a survivor is not broken. It is highly calibrated. If you grew up in an environment where the emotional weather could change in a heartbeat, you were forced to become a forensic analyst of human behavior. You didn't learn to read people because you wanted a social skill. You learned because your safety depended on it. You notice the microscopic tightening of a jaw. You hear the shift in pitch in a voice before the speaker even realizes they are becoming angry. You walk into a room and you don't just see furniture and faces. You see layers of hidden feelings, power dynamics, and potential exits. This is hypervigilance. It is like having a smoke detector in your head that is 3 times more sensitive than a standard model. It saves your life in a real fire, but it also screeches at you when you're just making toast. This constant scanning is the price of your survival, a background process that never truly shuts down. This heightened sensitivity makes you an incredibly empathetic person. You can feel the emotional temperature of a space the moment you step across the threshold. You are the colleague who notices the forced smile and knows someone is struggling long before they ask for help. You are the friend who shows up at 3:00 a.m. without hesitation because you know exactly what a silent crisis feels like. However, this level of empathy is metabolically expensive. It is a massive drain on your internal battery to be this observant and this available. This is why you are often the anchor for everyone else, yet you find it nearly impossible to ask for help yourself. You have spent so much time being the fixer that being the fixed feels like a terrifying loss of control. You've developed a painful contradiction. You desperately crave deep, authentic connection, but you are terrified of depending on anyone. In your history, dependence usually came with a hidden price tag or an inevitable disappointment. But there is a luminous side to this struggle called post-traumatic growth. Research proves that many who endure major hardships do not simply return to their baseline. They bounce forward. They develop a high-resolution appreciation for life that others might find overwhelming. They are the ones who might cry at a particularly beautiful sunset, or feel a profound, soul-deep gratitude for a simple cup of coffee in a quiet room. They cherish peace because they have paid the ultimate price to understand the cost of chaos. They value sincere, raw people because they spent so much of their life navigating the minefields of fake ones. This is why you laugh at your own pain. Dark humor isn't a sign of being cold or cynical. It is a tactical maneuver to take the power away from the things that try to break you. Every time you find a joke in a disaster, you are winning a small, private war against your own history. Odd comedy has become your armor, and laughter is your battle cry. However, beneath all this quiet power and resilience, there is often an invisible, lingering grief. It isn't the grief of losing a person, but the grief of losing the person you were before the world became so heavy. You might miss the version of yourself who trusted people easily and without a mental background check. You might miss the self that didn't have to scan for exits in a restaurant or create 17 backup plans for a simple weekend dinner. You feel a kind of homesickness for a place that only exists in the hazy corners of your memory, a life that felt light, simple, and predictable. Missing that lightness doesn't mean you are failing at your healing process. It simply means you are human. You are mourning the innocence you had to trade for your wisdom. Admitting the struggle isn't a sign of weakness. It is the beginning of true self-awareness. What is the clear-headed move if you recognize your own reflection in these words? The first thing you must do is stop apologizing for your depth. You are not too much. And you are certainly not damaged. You are simply a high-resolution soul living in a low-resolution world. You possess a social and emotional filter that is more advanced than most. This is your quiet power, not your defect. Your true strength is not about never falling apart. It is about the miraculous way you put yourself back together every single time, even when the pieces don't fit the same way they did before. The next step is to learn the vital difference between walls and boundaries. Walls are built in a state of panic to keep everyone away because we are terrified of being hurt again. They block out the pain, but they also block out the love. Boundaries, however, are built in a state of peace, to let the right people in and keep the wrong energies out. You do not have to be the strong anchor for the entire world every single day. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to unbuckle your armor and just be a person for a while without having to save anyone. Start small. Find one safe person today. Practice being inefficient for 5 minutes. Let yourself be not okay without providing a thrippage explanation of why. You have become a lighthouse for others, because you remember exactly what the darkness feels like. A lighthouse doesn't shine because it is perfect or unweathered. It shines because it knows the way through the storm and wants to guide others home. You didn't just survive your past, you interpreted it. You turned your scars into maps, your lessons into compassion, and your struggle into profound insight. That isn't just resilience, it is emotional evolution. Everything you became was not an accident of fate. It was intelligence. It was your nervous system being incredibly, fiercely loyal to you. But now, the immediate danger has passed. You are standing in a peacetime garden, even if your brain still thinks you are crouched on a battlefield. Take a deep breath right now and feel the actual weight of your body against your chair. Recognize that the air is safe here. You are the architect of your next chapter. And for the first time, you get to choose the materials. You are no longer a victim of your story. You are the author. And the author is allowed to write a chapter that is gentle, quiet, and overflowing with hope. You have earned your wisdom. So now, give yourself permission to enjoy the peace that comes with it. You have gone through too much, and somehow, miraculously, you are still here. You are still trying. You are still finding reasons to hope. That is the most beautiful kind of poetry the world has to offer. Keep going. You are doing much better than you think. Use your quiet power to protect your inner peace. and remember that you deserve the exact same comfort you so freely give to everyone else.